I left my body one night in a dream, and when I woke up, I told my husband Jeff what I'd seen while I was out there. He listened quietly and then said, "I'm sorry, honey, but I've got to go to the bathroom." A moment later, he called my name, "Connie, come here, quick!" And what he showed me proved that what I had just experienced was real. Let me tell you what happened. Now, this is a story, not a quick tip or a three-step process. So if you're willing to stay with me for the next few minutes, I promise you the ending will be worth it. Jeff and I were professional musicians at the time, traveling together as a duo, and we were playing in West Texas. And if you've ever been there, you know how hot it is. It was late October, and during the day we were sitting by a pool commenting on how strange it felt to be in 80-degree weather that late in the year, because being from the north, we had never experienced that before. Since our job was playing music at night, I had my days free, and at the time I was studying dreams, especially lucid dreaming, which is realizing that you're dreaming while you're still in the dream. In other words, you're still dreaming, but you become awake during the dream. So that night, I told myself, I'd love to wake up in a dream, know that I'm still asleep, and see what happens. Guess what? That night, I had this dream. I'm walking down the aisle of a church, about to get married. And as I got closer to the groom, I see he was a man I knew, and I knew with absolute certainty that I would never marry this guy. And in that instant, a thought popped into my head. I must be dreaming. And at that moment, I became awake in the dream. So I turned to the congregation and I said, "Guess what, everybody? I'm dreaming right now, and all of you are in my dream, and I'll prove it to you. Come on outside with me." And they did. And once we were outside, I said, "Now watch this." And I literally leaped and lifted myself up into the air and began flying loop-de-loops in the sky, swirling and twirling around and around. And then I came back down and I said, "See, I told you I'm dreaming." But then instantly, the scene changed. I'm now sitting in the driver's seat of a car, which in dreams, by the way, represents the body, because a car is the vehicle that takes us through life, just like our body does. My arms are outstretched, just like Superman. My head is down, and in a huge, and I mean huge, flash of light, I go straight out through the windshield. And this is the moment I left my body. I'm now flying, but this time it feels very different. It's nighttime, and I'm flying over very flat farmlands because West Texas is very flat. But what strikes me immediately is the freedom I feel, especially from my body. There is no density to me at all. I'm a light being. I know I'm sleeping down there, but I'm up here flying around, feeling lighter than air. But that's not the only kind of freedom I was feeling. I also felt a freedom from everything that felt emotionally human. There was no fear, no worry, no suffering of any kind. There was no human personality for me to manage, no past to return to, and no future to worry about. There was just being. And there also was no inner commentary going on in my head. There was no judgment, no interpretation, and no thoughts trying to figure out what was happening. And what surprised me most was how normal all of this felt. This feeling of flying and feeling free was so familiar, as if this wasn't something I was experiencing for the first time, but something I had always known how to do and had simply forgotten. And then I noticed something very interesting. I noticed there was a dusting of snow on the ground below me, maybe a half inch. And I wasn't cold. And it never occurred to me to question, how could there be snow in a hot part of the country? I just accepted it. But then, in a very gentle way, I could feel myself being pulled back into my body. And I woke up. I was so thrilled because I knew without doubt that I wasn't just my body. For a few minutes, I got to experience what it felt like to be me as an eternal being. Now, Jeff was also waking up at that time, and I immediately told him what had happened, that I had been out of my body, and that I now knew, in a way I never had before, that I existed beyond being human. He listened, and then he said, "I'm sorry, honey, but I've got to go to the bathroom." And off he went. And then he urgently called my name, "Connie, come here, quick." As I entered the bathroom, he said, "Look out the window." And as I did, I gasped. There it was, a dusting of snow on the ground, about a ½ inch, in West Texas, in the heat of October. And while I was standing there looking at the snow, something beautiful happened inside me. Yeah, I was excited and amazed. But even more than that, there was certainty. I truly understood that the body is something we inhabit, something very precious and temporary, but not the source of who we are. And I realized that whatever death is, it certainly wasn't the end of consciousness, because consciousness had already existed while I was out of my body, if only for a few minutes. Now, some of you may hear this story as only a dream. Some of you may hear it as a mystery, and some of you won't know what to make of it at all. And all of that is okay. But I don't believe we need an experience like this to remember who we really are. For me, this remembering came through a dream. For others, it comes through love, when you feel deeply connected, or through the beauty of nature that makes you pause, or through those moments of deep presence when your mind quiets and you can feel your real self more than you usually do. So what matters isn't how this kind of knowing comes to you. What matters is that when it does, something in you will wake up and remember. And once that remembering happens, even briefly, life will never be the same, because you'll begin to see yourself not as your personality, your history, or your struggles, but as the soul who's experiencing all of that. And that's why this dream mattered to me and why I wanted to tell it to you, because it completely took away my fear of death. It gave me a direct knowing of who I really am. And you know something? I think that's the deepest longing all of us have in this life. We want to remember who we really are. We want to know, really know, that we're a light being, a soul experiencing life in a human body, and so is everybody else. And you are not just any soul experiencing life. You are this unique soul living as this beautiful human being with your specific history, your wounds, your gifts, your way of loving, and a perspective that has never existed before and will never exist in this particular way ever again. And that, my friends, makes you sacred. And the more you remember that you're a divine being having a human experience, whether you have a lucid dream or not, the more you'll realize that your human experience really matters, because it's being lived by someone sacred, which is why there really is no one worth knowing more than you.